Hello and welcome back to TF1C, the Formula 1 chat, where today we're going to be running through the Mexican Grand Prix, talking about the race, talking about everything around the weekend, some of the controversy that we saw with certain drivers dive-bombing other drivers, the strategy, I guess not, but still, it's a bit, and also I guess the wider discussion about the Mexican Grand Prix as sort of a track and as an event. But yeah, we'll start with, of course, practice. We don't usually talk about practice, but when we've got some young drivers on the track, we like to talk about them. Who do we have this weekend?
We had Liam Lawson, Logan Sargent, Nick De Vries, Jack Doohan and Enzo Fittipaldi.
Jackie bloody Doohan could have a chance to drive an Alpine next season. Obviously, Pierre Gasly picking up penalty points. We'll get onto that later. But yeah, practice sessions. Interesting to see. I mean, I do think the initiative is sensational from Formula 1. That to enforce that teams have to put a rookie into their team for a race.
I like this practice in Mexico because it made qualifying more interesting. Because practice 1 was a rookie test, practice 2 was a Pirelli tyre test. So practice 3 was our only kind of visual representation of where everyone stood.
Of course, practice 2 we saw drivers who didn't get to go out in practice 1. They then put their running in the first hour of practice 2. Yeah, Russell, Snowden, Ocon. Schumacher and Latifi though didn't manage to recover that time. Or was it Schumacher that missed out on FP1? It was Magnussen who missed out on FP1.
Sorry, it was also Albon.
Yeah.
They might have done the dry test anyway.
Potentially.
We only really had practice 3 to show us where the pace was, but obviously nobody cares about practice 3 because it didn't really tell us much. Because it wasn't.
But what, Merc 1 2 is the first time in a while.
Didn't mean anything though.
It did give people excited though. Merc fans were starting to go, we could get on pole here.
However many hours between FP3 and quali.
I did see an interesting comment actually. We'll get on to qualifying now. That Max has sort of entered his Hamilton, that the next step on the skill tree. I saw them describe it as, where Hamilton, when it was like not expected he'd be on pole. When it looked like a team might be faster, he'd just pull out a lap like that. And Max did that this weekend. And yeah, it looked like Merc had a better package for at least over 1 lap pace.
I think that's right. I mean, we know Max, from watching him at the moment, he has the ability of a Hamilton or a Vettel to find a lap out of nowhere. With Hamilton's not so nice. Vettel, obviously, the one that I bring to mind is the historic Hockenheim lap, where it was Merck's pace all weekend, and then in Q3 he somehow found so much time. It's laps like that Max Verstappen has the ability, and that's how you win championships.
Yeah, and in those moments, it's when you go, that's a special driver. That's not a driver that gets carried by the car. Like you see so many second drivers. Like Bottas is an okay F1 driver. Yeah. I mean, we've had a sensational weekend this weekend, and that was on him, but he's hardly a championship contender. Hardly a top 2 championship runner.
Yes, I mean, obviously Max ended up 3 tenths clear of Russell. I know Russell ran wide through set 3, but he would have not, looking at how far he was behind, he wouldn't have.
Yeah, he didn't have the delta
time to be where Max was. But yeah, it was a phenomenal lap from Max. I think Merc. The thing is though, Mexico is probably the worst place to be on pole. Merc proved that last year. Verstappen proved that last year. He started 3rd last year, and he went on to take the lead into turn 1. So Merc probably thought in a 2-3 that they'd had a very, very good chance of getting the lead into turn 1 and eventually winning the race.
Yeah, I was a bit miffed by lap 1, turn 1, because I was expecting Merc to be quite aggressive. Actually, they're going for a win, but I feel like they were too over conservative. Like Lewis didn't really want to go for Russell. He ended up getting him when Russell got caught too tight on the inside.
That's when they got fighting each other, because Max was very smart about it, because he would have known, because he could have stayed on the left and given Hamilton the toe,
or George could have got the inside,
or go to the right. And I think he thought, I'm going to give George the toe here because I know George isn't going to go for it as much as Hamilton would. So then everyone kind of got in behind him, and then George didn't go for it, which meant then Hamilton went for George, and then because they were too busy fighting each other, Max managed to put a second.
One thing we didn't even mention from qualifying was obviously Ferrari.
We haven't mentioned any of the other teams.
No, I know, but one of the biggest talking points, obviously, Ferrari's lack of pace.
Absolutely nowhere. The one thing I have seen is that I wonder if they turn their engines down to avoid the overheating and
Potentially.
liability.
I think they
issues that can come
could
at
just be
Mexico.
coasting through the end of the season to get to the end of it. Just picking up the points where they can, making sure they stay ahead of Mercedes, but they're not.
absolutely
They
nowhere.
don't look competitive here. Be interesting to see how they get on at Brazil and Abu Dhabi, but it makes sense. There's 2 rounds left of the season. There's no championship to fight for. Just tone it down. Make sure you don't have any crashes, incidents. Just keep financial costs low, especially after Leclerc binned it in the wall.
Yeah.
In
I
practice.
think, should we keep going down to top 10? Obviously, Perez took 4th in quali, only a 10th off Russell in 2nd, so he was a 10th away from a home front row. Bit of a disappointing weekend for Checo, I think. Well, to be fair, he did get the podium in the end.
Yeah, I know, but I feel like, especially considering Max's pace
And I think
in the
he
race.
He would have wanted to 1-up last year. He'd have wanted a P2
Yeah.
or a P1. A P1 would have been magical.
Yeah, and I feel like the pace was there. I think what happened, if you look at the stint times, on the outlaps, on the mediums, when they switched to that stint, the Red Bulls, the difference in times, Max Verstappen was lapping at a 1:22, Perez at a 1:21. Now on paper you go, Max, Perez is lapping quicker, good pace. But Max's tyre conservation, which is something that you usually see from Checo, so it's interesting to see the reverse today. Of this race, Max was consistently 122s every single lap of the medium stint, apart from the VSC laps.
Yeah.
Just always in the 122s.
think
Checo, I think he
The other
went a
point
little
with
bit too
Checo
hard, too fast.
is that I think he went faster to overtake the Ferraris, whereas Max came out ahead of both of them. Checo had to overtake both of them, so unless he pushed
Potentially,
harder
yeah.
to get past them, so that he could, and then it kind of took the life out of him. I don't know, but he still got the podium. But P4 in quali, Ferrari 5-7. We talked about their pace.
Split by Bottas.
Bottas, what a race he had.
Sensational
What a weekend
job.
he had. I mean, consistently up there in practice, and then P6 in quali. What a lap! I mean, only 4 tenths off Russell in 2nd. Really, really good pace from Bottas all weekend. And thoroughly deserved to be up there. I've seen him saying that he'd wanted more from the weekend. I mean, he only picked up 1 point in the end.
For this at this stage in the season for Alfa Romeo, there's
Pick up as many points as you can.
well, exactly, especially with Aston in good form.
Wow.
I know they didn't have much pace here, but if it's Vettel Brazil, he could win. He could win,
Very much so.
and they're only 4 points ahead, I think. In
As for Bottas' teammate Zhou Guanyu, P12 in quali, and not race wasn't much better either. Just didn't really have the pace. First Mexican Grand Prix, I think he didn't do too bad.
Yeah.
Next, obviously McLaren, Lando
8-11 quali,
Ricciardo missing out
9-10.
Yeah, Ricciardo missed out by, because it was actually looking at the times. I know he missed out by a very, very small margin. 5. Something.
Well, he got a 1:19.3 in quali. Ocon got a 1:19 flat.
Alonso got 1:19.2.
Oh yeah.
But Ricciardo very close to getting Q3. But to be fair, going into the race, the McLaren had a storming weekend. A P7 and a P9.
Well, yeah. Well, let's talk about that Ricciardo incident then, because I think we've seen this a few times now, where a driver goes for a move, they take another driver out of the race, and then they're able to seemingly use that to their advantage. There's 3 occasions that come to mind immediately. I don't want to, bring up 2021 too much, but Silverstone last year, obviously we saw it. We saw the same at USA last time out, where George Russell took out Carlos Sainz, and while Russell didn't fight for the lead, I don't think he'd have been P5 with Carlos doing the race, and the 5-second didn't really hurt him. And we saw the same today. Ricciardo takes out Yuki. He's then able to push on and finish ahead, despite a 10-second penalty.
I think the difference is Ricciardo then had to show the pace and the overtakes to get 10 seconds ahead.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to say.
Russell just served his at the pit stop, then didn't have to worry about it.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm trying to say.
Hamilton at Silverstone.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. Is it a matter of, do the penalties need to be harsher, or is it just they've done well despite the penalties? But I think potentially are the penalties too too lenient?
I don't think they are.
No.
Because I don't think you can change it either. Because if that is the difference is, and because you can't have one rule for other people and one rule for the other. If that's Albon taking out Tsunoda and Albon got a 10-second, that would hurt his race massively.
No, but I'm not saying that they should. No, it's not. It shouldn't be where they finish. But the penalties should be harsher in general. Should they be 15 and 20 rather than 5 and 10? Because I think how you can award 5 seconds for pushing someone a little bit wide at Austria, but then award the same penalty for crashing someone out of the race. I don't think that's just.
What I'm saying is if so the difference is between, to say, I don't know, an Alpine crashed Verstappen out at Silverstone from the lead.
Yeah.
It's different to Hamilton because Hamilton is quicker, so he could build the gap. Is what I'm saying with the Williams. If it's the Williams, it'll hurt the Williams more.
No, it shouldn't matter on teams though. It shouldn't matter about the teams. Sure, I get that faster cars are going to be able to make up that difference, but what I'm saying is the penalty should be harsher.
Yeah, but I think that's what I'm saying. I think it's then unfair to give someone a 20-second time penalty.
Why?
Because that's
if Alex
that's
Albon
ridiculous.
Takes someone out and then he ends up at the
ridiculous.
back, that's on him. Why is that ridiculous?
I just think it's well done to keep the pace. You know, look at the instance. Russell went from P. I mean, he was P3.
4, ended up P5.
Yeah, so he went backwards. I think Hamilton.
Yeah, but in the overall scope of the race, I think a 5-second penalty is lenient. I think a 10-second penalty for Ricciardo here is lenient. Obviously, if you compare it to other incidents of a similar nature, saying that they all get the same penalties, fair enough. But I think all the penalties, the whole penalty system, needs to be a little harsher on drivers that take others out of the race. Because I don't think it's fair that he was able to take Yuki out, but his penalty wasn't harsh enough as he was able to easily keep going.
Because he was quick enough, because he took the gamble to go softs. If he'd gone mediums, for example, then he wouldn't have had the pace.
But it doesn't matter. He shouldn't be able to finish so high after he took another competitor out.
I mean, I think it was...
Without a blistering effort.
I didn't think he would. That's the thing, I didn't think he would, because he was quick enough. He's not, that's what I'm saying. I sat there when he was in P10 after taking Yuki out and going, oh, he's not getting points here, is he? Because he got...
And he shouldn't have, I don't think.
Well, because he found the pace and managed to get ahead.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying is I don't think the penalties are harsh enough that you can be able to find that pace.
I don't think it's too harsh on the back markers, but yeah, okay.
Well, unless you want a scalable penalty where it's higher in the higher in the construction, but then that's ludicrous.
Well, I think it's just if you're quick enough to make the gap, then fair enough. You're quick enough.
Interesting debate. Anyone comments down below, make sure to get your thoughts in on that. Or do you think penalties should be harsher, or is it completely fair as it is? Drivers can be able to make up that ground and recover their races if they can. Should we talk about those DNFs? Then obviously we mentioned Yuki Tsunoda already, but Fernando Alonso, the frustrations we saw it. What did you think of his antics after? You know, the throwing his hands up to the crowd, the punching the tyre walls. Well, I've seen some people say, oh, that's classic Fernando, how funny. And then you see other people call it petulance. What side of the fence do you sit on?
The thing is, petulance are just idiots. Because I'm telling you now, if you
why do you use that blanket statement?
Well, because I think if you drive the absolute wheels off a car and you drive so well, but because the team can't be bothered to build a reliable enough car, it blows up. When you've spent an hour and a half of sweating your arse off to drive this car to the point so that your team gets more money, I think you have the right to be angry because they can't build a proper car.
I think the notion that they couldn't be asked to build a better car is incorrect, but
No,
I get where you're
blowing
coming
up.
from.
Why don't they fix it?
Maybe they can't find the fix. Maybe they don't know
Well, they're stupid. They're meant to be the best engineers in the world.
Not Alpine, they aren't.
Well, no, but across the F1 teams, they're meant to be the 10 best sets of engineers in the world. They should be able to fix a car that keeps blowing up. If not, you should not be an F1 engineer.
A lot of reliability, but we are in new regulations. We are going to see things like that happen.
I think he has every right to be angry.
I think you have every right to be angry. It's how you display that anger. If you put it in a constructive way, you talk to your team, you say, look, let's try and rebuild this, rather than throwing your arms out there. And I love Fernando. I think he's a brilliant character.
I think he's had enough of... But there's a point that he gets to where you can't just keep having the nice, lovey-dovey conversations.
I don't think he's ever... This is Fernando. I don't think he's ever had those lovey-dovey conversations as you describe it.
That's just Fernando.
Do you think he'll enjoy Aston Martin next year?
Yeah.
You reckon?
Because I think they're going to build him a nice car.
So Alpine explodes too much, but Aston's going to be quick.
When was the last time that it blew up? The Aston.
It doesn't go quick enough to blow up.
Exactly, Alonso can make it go quick enough.
Well,
and they'll upgrade it.
that's an interesting thing you state
For-
there, that Alonso will make it go quick enough, but
he
Vettel isn't.
He will, because Vettel's just having a nice little fun time.
All
He's
right.
just collecting a paycheck to us. And I think he's kind of staying in it so he can promote his eco things.
I would argue Alonso is better at driving a worse car than Vettel is.
Well, yeah, because Vettel was a
I think
phenomenal
his
driver,
his
but
driving
Vettel was
style
nice.
is more suited to a
He drove
car that
Ferrari,
he
for God's
can
sake.
drive the wheels off.
No one wants to drive a Ferrari.
Well, when he joined Ferrari, it was a very attractive offer, and he had some good chances at winning championships that him and the
Got
team
robbed.
threw away. Okay, sure.
Ocon took points, I guess, a bit of silver lining for Alpine, but then we just...
We've not mentioned, I saw a tweet about halfway through the race just saying, where's Latifi?
What happened to... He was 40 seconds off Magnussen. He was 2 laps down.
As soon as I saw it, the tweet, I just
am-
look at the timing ladder and it's 50 seconds.
I am so glad that Logan Sargent is in that
just-
seat next year.
Well, not necessarily.
He will get enough driver points. He will get enough points.
Not if Jackie Doohan does a madness at Abu Dhabi,
He's not
which
gonna
is
do
what
that.
he's going to do.
He's not.
He is. He's going to get going at Alpine next year, mate.
You're just biased. And
So
he's
are
not.
you.
How am
He's
I
going to
biased?
get going the Alpine. You can't this thing with that one
Yeah.
because Pierre Gasly, as we saw, he's now on 10 penalty points. 5-second penalty for what did he do wrong this time?
He pushed Lance off.
That was it. That was a weird moment as well.
But Matt, to your penalty thing, I think you can't take in consideration Russell's because that should have been 10. I think 5 for
That's what
shoving
I'm
someone
saying.
off.
No, but
10 for taking someone out.
But I think Ricciardo, barreling into Yuki and taking him out of the race is more than doubly as bad as Gasly just pushing Lance off the road a bit and then both continuing on. I think it should make more of a difference if the other competitor can't continue.
But then there's more. There's
And I get it's
loads of things.
There's
into it,
incidents
that's the
are
problem.
complex. They're very
There's so many
varied,
things that
but
you can. Where's the? Is it 100% Ricciardo? Is it 90-10? Is it 80-20?
well, yeah, but then you can have that blame. But
Because the
that was
first-
one. There's not a single
Yeah.
person out there that thinks that's Yuki Tsunoda's
Oh no,
fault.
because I'm just saying, though, the first bit of Daniels was good. The second bit wasn't.
What do you mean the
Well,
first bit?
to go for the move was all right, but
No,
then
there's no room.
well, that's not what I'm saying. Is there was room, but he didn't take.
There wasn't.
No, that's what I'm saying. He didn't then take into account that how the corner worked, then the room would disappear. He didn't take that into account. So the first bit was fine. He went for a space. He went for a move where there was room, but then he didn't. He should have thought ahead and gone. Actually, this corner is a double apex. It's not going to work. But he didn't think about that part.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, and then the Mexico track as a whole.
Love it.
Do you?
He survived. It's brilliant.
I think I've
They've
seen
got
a
their own
lot.
Mexican F1
Yeah,
theme
that is
tune.
the best part of the race, which is the worry. The track has
just
been
my favourite.
brilliant for racing in recent years,
Brilliant.
but this year I've seen a lot of people describe it as the worst race of the season.
Well, they are stupid.
Are they?
Yeah.
How many overtakes do you remember?
I think not. Japan, we sat there for 5 hours. Like, we felt like 5 hours.
Wait, half an hour is still more exciting.
First off,
And also, you can't judge the
First
Sorry,
off-
hang on. You cannot judge the track on, oh no, right. Oh, Spa's shit, mate. It rained once. Really
Spar's
badly.
no example this year. Dallas
What?
Dishwater. Max waltzed it.
Yeah, but just because Max waltzes, it doesn't make the race boring.
That's what I'm saying.
There was
Max doesn't make this race boring, but it doesn't make Mexico boring.
nothing happened to Mexico, though.
did.
There was battles
It was-
all up and
it
down
was
the
a
field at
strategy
Spa.
battle.
And I agree, Spa was a little boring this year.
it
But
was a-
Mexico was so dull.
It was a brilliant strategy battle between Red Bull and Merck, and they looked like they were in it until they
Was
decided
it?
to put. Well, they were in it until they decided to put the hards on.
Well, I wouldn't describe it as a brilliant strategy battle when I think Pirelli made...
It was great. we had Red Bull on the soft, we had Merck on the medium. We didn't know which way it was going to go until
I think
lap
Pirelli made a
25.
big mistake on the tyres, which hurt this track
but
as well.
they always do that. So
No, they don't know.
They
was
do.
usually they
Baku,
get it right. Yeah, no,
loads
they,
of
no, they
tracks.
do make mistakes, but this one wasn't a safety concern. It was a pure race concern. They went too conservative this time, and I think maybe a step softer would have tempted more. Would have forced Red Bull into a two-stop. Would have given more of a strategy. Whereas how you can finish
And
a 71 lap race on a soft medium?
I think that's just like Red Bull fans that are annoyed they didn't see more of Max. I think the top end drivers I think that no. I think Ferrari fans are going to say that, aren't they? Because they thought it was boring because they just sat there.
Everyone thought it was boring.
I think the top end drivers were annoyed that we got to. I think the top end fans were annoyed that we got to see more of the bottom end. We saw a brilliant battle between the Alpha Tauris and Astons. We saw a brilliant battle between the Alfa Romeos and McLarens.
We saw Gasly and Stroll fight once, then Gasly got a 5-second penalty.
We saw great fighting in the lower half of the grid, but people find that boring because it's not at the front.
There wasn't any fighting.
There was.
I don't know what fight. Give me one overtake. Other than Daniel Ricciardo was the only saving grace in this race. He took it in his hands, he punted someone off, and then he went and made about 5 overtakes and pulled a gap. That's all that happened.
Latifi and Magnussen could battle for one lap and then Latifi.
No, they did. Wait, they were never near each other the whole race. Exactly.
Action.
Latifi was 50 seconds behind.
I think F1 fans are getting too used to. I think the majority of people saying that will be Ferrari fans, but I think F1 fans are getting too used to big crashes and loads of excitement and.
No, I just want to see a good fight for the lead. I want to see a good fight for the podium. No, it wasn't. Max won by 15 seconds.
But then Checo was only only 2 seconds off Hamilton.
But it was always 2 seconds off Hamilton.
It fluctuated from 1.5 to 2.
Yeah, but he didn't ever go for anything. Nothing happens in this race. But that's what I found it really dull. Yeah. And I think partly that the blame lies on Pirelli. The fact that drivers were able to complete a medium soft or a soft medium on a 71 lap race, on an hour and 45 minute race, is a bit of a joke. Because the softs are supposed to be, these don't last very long. The mediums are supposed to be somewhere in between the hards. Realistically, maybe you'd be expecting either a 2-stop or a medium hard or a soft hard. Maybe if you can push the tyres. But the fact that people were completing soft mediums with absolutely no bother, when last time out of USA, everyone was having to make about 9 stops just to get the tyres last.
Well, maybe they should have drove faster.
Is that the takeaway, is it?
If Ferrari drove faster, they would have had a more exciting race.
Okay. I don't know. I think the track it's an interesting one. A lot of people not fans. I love Mexico. Love the fans. It's a great vibe.
Fans.
I don't think they are, though. Most people complaining about the race.
Oh, well, you
other than you, who loved it, seemingly.
It's great. Mexico is phenomenal.
But this is where
great
seemingly
track,
you can't comprehend.
We've seen some phenomenal races.
Mexico and the track are different things. The track this year.
No, I am talking about Mexico track. The track's great.
Not this year.
Well, that's not the track's fault. That's not Mexico's fault.
The track wasn't good this year, but that's not the track's fault.
They didn't change the track from last year to this year, did they?
No.
So it's not the track's fault. It's not the actual.
But they've changed
circuit.
Cars. Maybe they don't suit it. I don't know.
Well, then that's not Mexico's fault. That's the car's
maybe
fault.
then we
changed.
For God's sake. Anyway.
I'm saying the circuit hasn't changed to make it worse.
People, get your thoughts in the comments down below.
The other things have changed to make it worse, not Mexico.
Max won again.
Yeah,
Constructors
He's
is
won
clear.
it all. Red Bull won it all.
Everything's clear.
Nothing
It's
to
over
fight for
400
now.
points now. It's the most accumulated in a World Championship season. Obviously, we do have more rounds now, so those rules records are sort of.
But really, they're not
obsolete
broken now because we're just gonna keep getting. They'll keep getting broken because we're just gonna see more and more
I don't
races.
think. I hope we don't see another season where a driver's able to take 14 wins out of 22.
We're gonna end. I think this race we're gonna end up with like 30
win
races
16
a season.
I hope we don't see another season as dominant as this.
I think we will.
I hope next season's a better fight.
Think
and even
as in the McLaren,
for God's sake,
you'll win every single race.
Right, even as a Max fan who wants to see him win titles, win championships, I want
to see someone fight him.
After the halfway stage of this season, this hasn't been that exciting.
Last year was so much better than this year.
Well, that is the problem. I think last year's raised everyone's expectations.
Because the battle, they were equal,
8 years before that, nothing happened.
They ended up on equal points into the last race. That I don't think people understand. Now, after watching this year, I think I understand more how incredible last year was.
Is Max just too good?
No.
Well, I look at the current championship. Perez 280, Leclerc 275, Russell 231, Hamilton 216.
Look at the mistakes Ferrari made this year. Merc weren't up there until.
Yeah, but they're still at 136 points. That's what I'm saying, though. Usually, when we see a dominant drive like Lewis Hamilton's in the multiple seasons, Valtteri Bottas in P2 was, it wasn't near him, but it was still within 100 points, wasn't he?
Yeah, because they because of the car though, they were nailed on one to every race, whereas it isn't down to the car.
No, but this is what I'm saying is Max Verstappen just too good?
No. Of course he's not.
Okay, right, sure.
Because too good would mean that he wins every single race by 20 seconds, 25 seconds. That's too good.
Has he not done that this year?
Well, yeah, of course he hasn't. He hasn't won every race.
Well, there's been 6 rounds he's not won.
But I also look at the amount of times Ferrari threw it away. It wasn't the engine, it was the drivers. It wasn't the drivers, it was the pit crew. It wasn't the pit crew, it was the strategy. It wasn't the strategy, it was just something.
In a season with 20 races, only 6 of them were not won by Max. And 2 of those were won by Perez.
Because they've all been blown up.
Okay.
If Merck, Ferrari and Red Bull all at the top of their game this year, it would have been much closer.
No shit, Sherlock. All the cars are equal.
No, not all equal. But I'm saying they're all at the top of their game. Like if Merck were as good as they were last year, if Red Bull were as good as they last year, if Ferrari were as good as they were like 10 years ago, and they're actually quite good.
Don't remember the 2012 season being all that.
I don't, but I thought it can't be last year. It wasn't the year before. It probably wasn't the year before that. No, it was the year before that because they had a legal engine. So I don't really know.
That is all for today, guys. Get your thoughts in the comments down below. It's been a bit of a long one.
Great.
Harry has hated everything I liked and loves everything I hate. But yeah, get your thoughts in the comments down below. Do you think penalties are too harsh? What did you think of the track? And is Max Verstappen too good? That is all for today, though. Thank you all very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.